Well, hello, my favorite people. If anybody is still out there, say hello. I'm streaming on YouTube. Some people asked me to quickly check in with the Facebook. Those who did not have a chance to subscribe to my YouTube channel to get the live. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. It is Elena USA Live. And you can click the bell that will notify you every time that I do go live. So please do subscribe. Those who didn't have a chance to subscribe, you probably will still see me on the Facebook. But I will try to do more YouTube lives, more often YouTube lives. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Otherwise, you won't be able to see me on the live if I just go on the YouTube and not on YouTube and Facebook. So everybody click those subscribe buttons real quick on YouTube, you guys. And don't forget that bell, notification bell as well. I think it's tricky. You have to click all so you could be notified of all the times that I go live or something new happens. So I post a new video or something like that. So do that. So let me see. We're a couple of minutes away from 7 p.m., which is the official start of the live. Anybody is ready? Let me see. Anybody's watching us or everybody's having their dinners. Let's see who we have. Yes, we have a couple of people still left. Nobody likes listening to the intros. I understand that. Everybody would rather just see me and see me talk. If you have a phone camera, you could point to that QR code that you see on my screen and also subscribe to my YouTube channel that way. Everybody is asking what's the QR code for. That's the way for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel by simply pointing camera as if you were taking a photo. And the screen will pop up and it will say YouTube and you click on it and you could subscribe through that way. Or the old-fashioned way, go on YouTube and go to Elena USA Live or click on that stream that I have in the notes on this page and subscribe that way. So we will not miss each other. So is everybody there? Okay, we have a couple of faithful people still around. Watching through intros and listening me talk. I think it's time to start. 7 p.m. sharp. Here we go. Well, again, hello everyone. We're starting our live stream today on, gosh, this is Wednesday. Exciting. How many days since the New Year's? Did everyone have the good New Year's Eve? How did you guys do? Well, obviously, our Congress is not having that great of a time. Should I say we have a revolution? Excitement, right? Oh my gosh, our Congress cannot agree on the Speaker of the House. So it has been on and off, voting and voting, voting and voting, making deals, making speeches, giving interviews. What is everybody thinking about this 6 rounds? And Kevin McCarthy, Republican, who was proposed and who is running for the Speaker of the House, apparently does not get enough votes from our congressmen. And why not? Well, it's because we have a few rebels there in Congress. There are several Republican congressmen who pretty much expressed the lack of trust to the speakership of the tenure of Kevin McCarthy as proposed for the speaker. They said that they felt that the certain things that they were discussing with Kevin were not possibly being met their way. There is a lot of different things. I'd like to play a video for you. Let me see if I could do it. Hopefully it will let me do it. I will have to do the side by side here. This is something else.
Who will not be voting for Kevin McCarthy today take no joy in this discomfort that this moment has brought. But if you want to drain the swamp, you cannot put the biggest alligator in charge of the exercise.
So the congressman, Matt Gaetz from Florida, he likened the potential speaker role by Kevin McCarthy as alligator being put in charge of draining the swamp. And I think he goes on to say further that I'm from Florida, I know what I'm talking about. So obviously there are alligators in Florida, right? So listen what else Matthew Gaetz had to say, why he and I think it started with 18 other Republicans, but now it's up to 20, decided to not vote for Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House to represent the Republican majority. Let's listen in.
Florida man, and I know of what I speak. We offered Kevin McCarthy terms last evening that he rejected. We sought a vote in the first quarter of the 118th Congress on term limits. He refused. We wanted a budget from the Republican Study Committee that balances on the floor in the first quarter. He refused. We wanted the border plan that the Texas delegation put together on the floor. He refused. And it is true that we struggle with trust with Mr. McCarthy.
Listen to this. I think it's very important what Matt Gaetz just said. They tried to put forth several different, I guess, packages or proposals or ideas, but they felt like those fell on deaf ears. One of the things that Matt Gaetz mentions is term limits. Did you guys all hear that? Term limits. Does anyone agree that we need term limits in Congress, in United States Congress? I know in Michigan State representatives, we have the State House and we have senators in Michigan. They do have term limits here in the state of Michigan when you elected to office. But obviously United States Congress, and it has been several times challenged by different states who do have term limits. It's just been one big circle. And so far there are no term limits in Congress. So we have what I call political dinosaurs, a la Nancy Pelosi, Biden, and you just go down the list. People who has been there for 50 plus years, 30 plus years. That's insane. Our country was supposed to be open to every one of us, American citizens, being able to contribute to the process of self-governing. But we instead now have created career politicians who never leave the feeder and who just keep mushrooming into this giant, what Scott Ritter called the blob, but it's just a giant, I don't know, swarm that does not want to let go, does not want to allow fresh ideas, new ideas, return to Constitution. They're just doing whatever they're doing, and they're creating policy for 50 years, 30 years, half a century. This is how long a lot of those people are there. And what Matt Gaetz is saying, that they've proposed a vote on term limits. I think that's an important vote. I think that there should be term limits. When I ran for Congress, that was one of my platform's points. Yes, we need term limits in United States Congress, because obviously when the body of Congress and the idea was created, it was very hard to find people who would like to, that's explanation I've heard, the people who would like to do public service. But now it seems that people who are in Congress for years and years, they just are there for something else other than contributing to self-governing process. Because look at AOC and look how everybody just turns into these multimillionaires if they leave Congress. It's insane. We need regular people representing us, connected to us on a deep level instead of career politicians representing us. But there is no way to change that equilibrium until we have any semblance of term limits. So I think Matt Gaetz had a good point here that they have proposed a vote on term limits, but it sounds like Kevin McCarthy had no interest in putting that up for
Because
vote.
time and again, his viewpoints, his positions, they shift like sands underneath you. Even Kevin McCarthy's own mentor recently said that the lies always change. And Mr. McCarthy is not only responsive to pressure from the right. Time and again, he has failed to achieve the goals that we seek on spending and on the fight. For months, we have been asking Mr. McCarthy for his battle plan. How do we ensure that we stand up for folks in the military who feel like they're being purged? How do we ensure that if there's the passage of a farm bill, it includes things like work requirements? And all we got was a handful of howdy and a mouthful of much obliged. So we do not want to be here at this moment. We would prefer to have a unity of purpose, but we will not continue to allow the uniparty to run this town without a fight. There's very little difference between Nancy Pelosi and her California delegation mate that seeks the gavel. And we want to change because this town is broken. And this is a person who has acknowledged in Mr. McCarthy that the town is broken, and he has been a part of that process for many years as a member of the leadership. We'll take some.
What do you guys think? I read that Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman, she usually, works together with the guys like Matt Gaetz, the one that's interviewed here. These are guys from what they call Freedom Caucus. And they're pretty strong pro-constitutional faction of Republican Party. But in surprising split, Marjorie Taylor Greene called these guys, I believe, destructionists or something along the lines. She said, they are playing rather Russian roulette. Then people reached out to President Trump for comment and to see whether he supports Kevin McCarthy or he supports the revolutionaries, Matt Gaetz and company. Well, until the last I checked, at first Trump said that, let's see what happens. He sort of didn't say one way or the other, even though in the past and lately, Kevin McCarthy said that Mr. Trump does yield him support and confidence. So it's really interesting to see what's happening next with the Speaker of the House debacle, so to speak. We have, I think there was about 6 times that the vote was held to see, and every time Kevin McCarthy just actually lost more votes. In the end, the Matt Gaetz, the Florida congressman that you see on your screen, a faction, they've proposed, I believe it's Byron Donalds, I believe, from Florida. Interestingly enough, Byron gave a small little interview. He said, yes, I voted for myself since they nominated me. Do I think that this is a disaster, that we can't put the votes together? He said, I don't think so. He said, I'm a businessman. I understand negotiations, so we'll just keep working on it. A sky, is not falling on us. My kids went to school this morning. Everything is fine. Yes, we are working out some things in Congress. But a lot of other people were pretty shocked that we practically don't have any government right now. So the new people cannot get sworn in. There are new members of Congress who brought their little children there. And of course, media was all over the place saying, oh, poor little babies, they cannot see their mother, their father get sworn in because the congressman just can't figure it out. Well, they will figure it out, even though several Congress people, including, I believe, the congresswoman from Florida, likened the whole process to the Groundhog Day. So, and Byron Donald said, well, don't you worry, people. the Groundhog Day was about 9 days, and he said we're only on day 2. So there is some humor. There is some, I would say, disastrous prediction of how divided the Congress and Republicans are. And what if they don't put this together? What if it will go to plurality vote and maybe Democrats will win the House Speaker? And of course, one of the newspapers published AOC talking to Matt Gaetz in an interim and saying, what are they talking about? And of course, the speculation was that maybe some Democrats will vote for the candidate that Matt Gaetz proposed, Byron Donalds. But AOC dispelled those rumors, said, no, Democrats are all united. And Democrats are all united. They have selected their speaker, and all of them voted as one, I believe 212 of them, for their speaker, Joachim. And gosh, you know, Democrats are really trying to sort of stick it to Republicans to say, look, you guys can't agree on anything. Look how great we're doing. But on the other hand, Republicans do have a point, because the big hang-up while they're still negotiating is this premise called motion to vacate the chair. And apparently that's something that Nancy Pelosi changed the rules. And all they seem to want to have done, the guys who are these revolutionary congressmen, they want to bring that the rule back where every single member of the Congress could make a motion and put it up for vote that a speaker is to vacate the chair. So the Kevin McCarthy, I guess, faction, they didn't wish this to be the case, so they didn't want to agree to that. Apparently, they wanted, I believe, is a half a Republican conference would have to agree in order for this motion to be made. So, like Byron Donald said, nobody at home understands why are we fighting here over this motion to vacate the chair. Nobody back at home, regular people don't understand that. Well, they're basically fighting, some of it is for the rules, because the Congress cannot adopt any new rules until they have the speaker and they have to do all the processes in place. But they cannot agree on new rules. So they're trying to bring some old rules. I believe they're talking about Holman rule that they're trying to bring back, is the rule where if they wish to defund, let's say, an agency or individual who works for the government, I think they talked about Homeland Security or FBI, whether they are involved in certain improprieties. So they would be able to defund them to basically provide their funding up to like $1. So I think they were fighting for that. Then there was another point that they want to have balanced budget. And something is called, I think, pay as you go, so you can spend more, but it should be balanced with what they call cut as you go. So they're trying to balance as many bills with spending they're making to balance with taking something off the table while putting something on the table. So they're doing that. And of course, and this does sound like Kevin McCarthy does not want to yield. He did yield somewhat, I believe, to where he may have negotiated that the motion to vacate the chair could be made by up to 5 congressmen. But I believe the revolutionaries with Matt Gaetz, they wanted to go up to 1, that 1 congressman could make a motion. If you think about it, well, there are lots of rules in Congress, which I believe also was not supposed to be that way when Constitution was created, because when you get in Congress and there is all this division, there is all these committees, and there is all this seniority, and the new congressman doesn't have as much weight as the senior congressman, and then you get preferential treatment by the speaker. So these guys are saying, we want to make sure that even one congressman could make a motion versus, it's half of the body or maybe 5 people, or we want to have positions on committees, or we want to be allowed to have people to have public access to the Capitol. There's have a lot of list of different things that they are proposing. And obviously, it sounds like Kevin McCarthy is not somebody that they, at least the revolutionary faction, that they have trust that will do a lot of things. The interesting part is a lot of them initially wrote in and vote for Jim Jordan, who is also part of, I believe, the Freedom Caucus in Congress. But Jim Jordan himself was supporting Kevin McCarthy. And he declared, Jim Jordan, that this time around he has no interest in becoming speaker because he wants to be on Judiciary Committee. I did see that I believe he tried to propose or run rather for Speaker of the House in 2018, but this time around he expressed no interest in becoming a speaker. So in an interim between the vote number 1 and vote number 6, where again Kevin McCarthy kept losing votes every time, the faction of Republicans who voted for Jim Jordan then proposed and nominated and voted for Byron Donalds from from Florida. So we'll see what happens. It's a complicated issue. Let me see if everybody is with me. What do you guys think about this whole thing? Let me play finish of this interview with Matt Gaetz and look at your comments. Comment, what do you guys think about this?
Let me ask the 3 of you a question here. So let me just clarify something here. Based on your remarks, Ms. Wilbert's remarks, and Mr. Perry's remarks, are you saying because we took things to this brink in the 11th hour right before the Speaker's vote, he is unqualified to be Speaker? In other words, a Speaker, a leader, would have worked this out a long time ago.
Well, yeah, I reject the premise of the question. We did not take this to the brink. For many months, we have been presenting these ideas to Mr. McCarthy, and we have gotten strung along, and only on New Year's Eve did we see changes to the rules. And what's interesting about the meeting we just had is our colleagues broadly celebrated rules changes that many of us had been fighting for to ensure that we had an opportunity to read the bills before voting on them so that we did not get log rolled with multiple pieces of legislation put together that don't have the same subject, so that we had germanity rules, so things like the National Defense Authorization Act wouldn't be amended onto a water infrastructure bill. And we did not get timely responses from Mr. McCarthy. We did not get substantive responses from Mr. McCarthy because I think he thought that just by going on your network and others that he would browbeat us into submission to the swamp, and we're not going to do that.
So just to be clear, none of what you heard in there from McCarthy was enough to get your support.
Everything I heard hardened my resolve that this town desperately needs change, and if it's a few of us who have to stand in the breach to force it, we are willing to do so for as long as it takes.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think? You think we'll have a speaker tomorrow? Let's see who we have. Bishop Robinson, all about cutting deals and power. Yeah, sounds like Kevin McCarthy kept accusing the revolutionaries of them wanting to cut the deals with him. And they came back and said, no, he wanted to cut deals with some other people. It's just really confusing as far as who is doing what. But there is definitely a challenge for Republicans to find some type of common ground. Of course, there is a Steve Scalise, I believe, who is also Kevin McCarthy supporter. He may be what people believe is the ultimate possibility if Kevin McCarthy chooses to withdraw and put his support behind Stephen Scalise. So we'll see. Let's see who we have here. We have another comment from Jerry Green. I say, bravo, let it ride. They got to hammer things out somehow. Well, put it this way. I watched the interview with Byron Donalds, the congressman that ended up being on the ballot, and Matt Gaetz faction ended up nominating him. So he said that, I am sort of tired, he said, of walking between the buildings. He said, I walk from one building to another, and I've spent a lot of times away from my family, away from my children, to just do that, to just walk between the buildings. He said that he found the entire thing very invigorating, and he did echo the sentiment that Matt Gaetz voiced, that the town is broken, Washington is broken, and so they don't want to have more business as usual, and they want to have some new rules as to how Congress conducts its business, and basically adopt some new rules, adopt some new procedures that in their view would make this a better place, and will make this a better place for them to represent their constituents back at home. Of course, not everyone agrees. Like I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene came against it. Donald Trump at first was neutral, but then Kevin McCarthy kept reiterating that he believes Donald Trump supports him. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what deals are made. But today, the second day of them trying to vote, no decision. So we'll see what happens next. Democrats obviously have kept voting for their candidate, and all 212 of them. But Kevin McCarthy, the Republican nominee for Speaker of the House, actually kept losing the votes the more times the votes were taken. The last time was sixth time, and that ended up not in his favor either. So the Congress adjourned, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Let me see what you guys say. Let me see what you guys think about all of this. Here we go. Bishop Robinson, they're all Gators. Well, Matthew Gaetz said that electing Kevin McCarthy would be kind of like putting alligator in charge of the draining the swamp. So he said, I know what I'm talking about because I'm from Florida. See what comment we have. We have comment from Alan. Alan Hajan, in my opinion, McCarthy has been too friendly with Democratic Party. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, it does seem like a lot of the Republicans who apparently expressed a revolutionary stand against voting for Kevin McCarthy, they did feel that it's not, his leadership. They actually said something about that they don't have they have trust issues with Kevin McCarthy, and it was very gruesome to hear what they had to say. So I hope that they will find, in fact, when they were asked what would make them vote for Kevin McCarthy, would there be anything? They pretty much said that there is nothing. So we'll see if some type of deals will be done, or, you know, what's interesting, I did hear somebody made a notion about a couple of weeks ago that Donald Trump possibly was asked to be a Speaker of the House. And at first, supposedly, he declined, but then he was considering. And that was Robert Barnes. I believe he mentioned that in the interview to the Duran channel. I watched their interview. So he suggested that Donald Trump may be considered for the Speaker until Congress would figure it out. But I didn't hear anything today or yesterday in deliberations or interviews suggesting that maybe Trump is considered for the Speaker at this time. So far, everybody just wanted his support. Everybody wanted to know what he thinks. Everybody reached out to him to try to gain support. Everybody noticed that Freedom Caucus and Matt Gaetz and lots of other guys who are actually opposing Kevin McCarthy are the very congressmen who support Trump and Trump policies. So it is a little unusual that reporters mentioned that Kevin McCarthy claiming Trump support, but the Trump supporters, the Freedom Caucus, Matt Gaetz and the guys who actually voted against Kevin McCarthy are basically Trump supporters, but Trump is not with them. Appears to be that Trump actually supports the very guy that they don't want to vote for. Well, at least the Kevin McCarthy alleges that he's got Trump's support. So, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is also supporting Kevin McCarthy. So it's really interesting to see the dynamics. I did read, if you look for the article in the newspaper The Hill, it details all the particular demands that the guys made, all the particular rules that they would like to implement, and all the particular differences that they have with Kevin McCarthy. So it's actually a pretty interesting read. I have it on my screen, but I don't know if anybody wants to take a time to read it. Of course I do, because I'm interested in that stuff. I don't know, guys, you would have a patience to do that. Well, finally, we have Charles Calderwood. Okay, I go subscribe now. Please, everybody subscribe to my YouTube channel, either using this QR code or just go old-fashioned way and go on YouTube. You see links all over my page on Facebook, and subscribe to Elena USA Live. This is my YouTube channel, and I will be going live more often on that. So let me see who else we have. We have Lynn Neal. Fix 2020 first. McCarthy is the same thing we've had too long. No, he should give up. Yeah, I think it's one of the contentions that against Kevin McCarthy was that, first of all, underwhelming performance at the midterm elections. Several people came out and said that, well, obviously Republican, the wave didn't happen. And Democrats pretty much got reelected as well as they did before. Look at everybody. I mean, in Michigan, we even lost the House. It used to be Republican majority. Well, now we have Democratic majority. So some people basically said that Kevin McCarthy, the performance of the elections was more underwhelming to some people. And that is also a downside of his leadership. Then there are some, I think there is some, I don't want to say demands, but there is something that the revolutionary congressmen want that actually pertains to how Republican Party conducts elections, or what candidates it supports and how it supports them. So there's a long list of different grievances and proposals that these faction of Republicans who oppose Kevin McCarthy believe would better the process and would better our Congress and would better their ability to represent us. But they feel that Kevin McCarthy is not yielding to what they consider would better our country and our Congress. Let's see who we have here. We have Tom Casey. Mitch McConnell is a pure traitor, and the only reason Mitch is there is because Trump endorsed him in last election. Well, yeah, let's talk about Mitch McConnell. Did you guys all read the article? Did you guys all see that Mitch McConnell said there is not going to be any change in money to Ukraine? He said that Ukraine will keep receiving enough and whatever money it needs. So all of us are here. We're waiting for January 3rd to the new Congress to be seated. First of all, it's not seated yet because they can't figure out the speaker. And until then, they can't get sworn in. They can't adopt the rules for the new Congress. But on top of it, Mitch McConnell already preempted all of that and said, no, money to Ukraine will keep flowing the same way it was flowing before. No change. So Mitch McConnell told us already, don't expect anything new as far as the policies. Let me see who we have. We have Tom again. The two-party charade is done, finished. Let's see, who is this comment? According to Derek Johnson, President Trump is busy. Derek Johnson, 1776, is a veteran explaining military law and order under the Constitution. Everything is documented online for everyone to read. Let's see. We have another comment from Tom Casey saying, everyone needs to join LP Libertarian Party. I think that ties to your comment about two-party charade is done, finished. Yeah, lots of people feel that both parties are basically what they call a uni-party because they promote each other's policies. They there is very little difference that some people believe that, sadly so. Let me see. We have Lynn Neal here in Elkhart, Illinois, where Abraham Lincoln practiced law. United we stand, divided we fall. We need to remove all Congress members who did not fix 2020 first. They're all violators of their oath of office. Yeah, nobody wants to talk about elections, and I believe that this faction of these Republicans who are calling out Kevin McCarthy, I believe they actually are the ones who want more as far as the investigations and more transparency when it comes to elections or what happens with elections. Interestingly enough, like I said, Jim Jordan, he usually is on the lines with the same guys who are here, the guys who basically are voting against Kevin McCarthy. But Jim Jordan expressed that he wants to be a Judiciary Committee chair, I think. And Judiciary Committee is supposedly going to look into the elections, the FBI weaponizing, I think, what is it, Twitter, suppress all the Americans who were trying to speak about what happened during Trump and Hillary, Trump and Biden, and, all these Twitter files that recently came out, how the DNC and how Congress, today it was a new revelation, were doing all this suppression of the information. So I think Jim Jordan wants to have that committee because they have a list of things that they would like to investigate. And I think elections are on one of their top priority lists. And of course, there is South border and what Biden's doing there. We have a crisis on our border for years and nobody pays attention to that, while everybody is only wanting to fix the border in Ukraine and send money down there. So let's see who we have here. We have McCarthy actively, let's see, McCarthy actually actively worked against Trump where he became president, but strangely Trump has supported him. Yes, it sounds like politics sometimes makes very strange what they call bedfellows or fellows. It really is interesting how this works. And we'll see what happens. We'll see. There is another day tomorrow. In the meantime, guys, the news we have since New Year, exciting news. Anybody was watching? Let's see. We're going to share with you another article. Let me see if I can share this, maybe. Well, guess whose picture is that? This is a photograph of the Ukrainian commander-in-chief, Mr. Zaluzhny. And he's taking a selfie, allegedly in his office, with the Stepan Bandera. Well, if you guys don't know, Stepan Bandera is the Ukrainian nationalist who, during the World War II time, created and was a leader of the Nazi SS Ukrainian Volunteer Division Galicia that fought on behalf of Hitler and slaughtered hundreds of thousands in ethnic cleansings, including the Russian people, the Jewish people, the Polish people, the Romani people, you name it, even Ukrainian people, if they were not agreeing to subscribe to their Nazi ideology. So it's insane. But the reason I brought that photo, that because I finally found it. So lots of people were asking about this photo. People were actually referencing it. But why is this important? Well, it's because January 1st is Stepan Bandera's birthday. And Poland now has been very much upset that all of a sudden the Ukrainian parliament was praising Stepan Bandera on his birthday. And if you think about it, why are they just waking up right now? Stepan Bandera is basically a national hero of Ukraine. And Polish, I think Morawiecki was saying that, oh, we just need to talk to Ukraine. Well, it's not really cool what they're doing. Well, if you think about it, like, you really don't know Poland, what they're doing. They're in your face, professing allegiance to Stepan Bandera, Ukrainian Nazi collaborator for Hitler in World War II. And now that he has a birthday on January 1st, and Ukrainian parliament honors him, Ukrainians who came abroad and refugees now honoring them in Poland. But did you guys know that Poland actually criminalized following Bandera ideology? So, and with that said, when Poland criminalized it in 2018, I believe, at that time, Ukraine condemned Poland criminalizing Bandera ideology. So January 1st was the day when everyone in Ukraine was celebrating the Nazi collaborator Stepan Bandera, and everyone across the world was shocked and wondering, how is this possible that we are supporting, we United States, with our taxpayer dollars, the country that professes the ideology of Nazi SS collaborator with Hitler as a national hero, and that country is Ukraine. And Poland is trying to now say, oh, but maybe you shouldn't, maybe we don't like it too much, maybe, hello, Poland, Ukraine has been doing this for the last decade. Every January 1st, they march with big torches through the streets and spew the nationalistic slogans and glory to Ukraine, or hail Ukraine and hail heroes, and death to enemies, and glory to nation. And they have children's camps doing the same thing. And you, Poland, now waking up. Did you, Poland, forget Volyn massacre, when Stepan Bandera and his nationalist followers slaughtered all the Polish people? Women, children, everyone, villages worth of you? You don't remember that? Volyn massacre, Stepan Bandera, and you, Poland, supporting Zelensky, supporting the regime that hails Stepan Bandera as their national hero. Are you insane? Do you not understand? But hey, should we say Poland? What about United States? We're doing the same thing. Shamefully so, but that's what we do. It's insane. Oh, guys, don't get me started. But yes, I hope you did not celebrate January 1st as Stepan Bandera's birthday. But just so you know, in Ukraine, they did. Ukrainian parliament did as well. So that's where we're at. Yeah, it says, wow, unbelievable, Elena. Yes, it is very believable. I'm trying to share my screen with you to show you that. Let me see if I can share that. I will share my screen so you guys can actually see that. Here is an article, real quick. And that article says, let me see if I have it on a bigger screen. Verkhovna Rada, Ukraine parliament, has adopted a statement condemning Polish Sejm basically resolution to criminalize Bandera ideology, right? This is Ukrainians. They read here, Ukrainian parliament condemns Polish law banning Bandera ideology. So Polish Sejm parliament condemned Bandera ideology, and then Ukrainian parliament came and condemned Poles for condemning Bandera. Do you guys understand what's happening in here? So now let me show you another article here, which is the recent one. Hopefully I find it here really quick. Let me see which one is here. Yes, right here. I'm sharing this right now, and you guys can see it. Ukrainian parliament slammed for celebrating Nazi collaborator. That's right there. That tells you. And you can read also, in now deleted celebrating what would have been Bandera's 114th birthday on January 1st featured a quote from him and a photo of Ukrainian Armed Forces Chief General Valery Zaluzhny with large portrait of Nazi collaborator in the background. And I've shown you that photo, guys, in the beginning a few minutes ago. Yeah, that's what they do in Ukraine. So don't give me this, oh, there are no Nazis in Ukraine. The Nazi ideology is basically official ideology of Ukraine, from the chief military commander to Zelensky, when he features on his official pages Ukrainian soldiers wearing the Totenkopf, the swastika of the concentration camp Nazis. On the background behind Zelensky, there would be Ukrainian soldiers sporting a Totenkopf, that death's head, the insignia of the concentration camp Nazis. And that's posted on official Zelensky's channel and Ministry of, I believe, Defense of Ukraine on May 9th this year, 2022, rather. Now this is 2023. So it's basically official ideology of Ukraine right now. And yeah, Tom Casey says, and Israel is silent. Well, now that Netanyahu is back in the game, it seems like maybe Israel will start waking up. But the last time I checked, Israel actually allowed Azov Nazi, the guy from the Azov battalion, tour Israel. What? But hey, why would we be surprised? Our United States Congress allowed the same. We, quote unquote, our congressman invited Azov battalion. Nazi ideology professing guys, Ukrainian official armed forces now embedded units to our Congress. What? Just in 2018, I believe our United States Congress made the resolution that no money should be going to Azov battalion due to their association with Nazi ideology. Well, I guess in 2022, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Because not only money goes to Azov battalion, who now is official part of Ukraine military forces, official. Not only money goes to them, they are now invited to United States Congress to be celebrated and give them a United States tour and meet with our dignitaries. It's insane. It's insane, people. I don't know how is everybody doing, but that's what they do. And so Ukrainian parliament and Ukrainian armed forces, Zaluzhny, obviously sporting his photograph. And I will show you maybe this photograph again, since the article referenced it, so you guys can see it. Let me see if I have the correct. Yeah, this is the photograph. This is the Commander-in-Chief Zaluzhny posing with the portrait of Stepan Bandera, Nazi collaborator during Hitler, the guy responsible for slaughters of hundreds of thousands of Jewish people, Russian people, Romani people, Polish people, even Ukrainian people. The guy whose portrait in black and white is Stepan Bandera, now promoted and hailed as national hero of Ukraine. Tom Casey says, we live in such ridiculous times. That's very true. It's very sad times. Let me see. United States has an agenda, and anything that casts doubts on it is conveniently overlooked. That's unfortunate. We have certainly, our agenda has not been what it should have been. Being a beacon of freedom and beacon of hope, we're actually supporting Nazis in Ukraine. So that's very far from from American purpose. We're supporting Zelensky regime that banned all opposition parties, banned churches, put opposition party leaders in jail. Zelensky is now salivating over EU and United States wanting to arrest Russia's money and quote unquote give it to Ukraine for the reconstruction. Of course, they came up with a figure. Now it's, I believe, $1 trillion that Zelensky or EU or together, they're trying to figure out that that's how much money they would need. And of course, they will take Russian money for that, right? So they're trying to figure out modern day piracy, how they can steal Russia's money. And Zelensky proposes the mechanism, and EU does the same, as to freezing Russia's assets and then nationalizing Russia's assets to give them to Ukraine as reparations and all the good stuff. So yeah, there's a lot going on. We do live in weird times. Let me see what else I have here as far as the article goes. I think this is a good one. Yes, this is what I was talking about, the cost of reconstruction. The cost of reconstruction now is $1 trillion. So $1 trillion. Anybody else we have commenting here? We have Tom Casey. When I traveled to Poland in 2007, from top to bottom, the consensus I got from Polish people, the Ukraine was an enemy, one and the same as Russia, but now that's changed. Oh, yeah, it's frustrating how the politicians manipulate people's psyche into having the nations who live on the border with each other, all of a sudden one day start killing each other, while corrupt politicians have fun and they just make more money. You guys did hear that Lindsey Graham, American senator, gave the interview when he stood right next to Chris Murphy, Democratic senator. So Lindsey Graham, Republican, Chris Murphy, Democrat, and both of them give an interview with Lindsey Graham saying that, quote, I like the path that we're on. As soon as we provide economic support and weapons to Ukraine, Ukraine will fight to the last person. Person means children, women, elderly, men, everyone. So our Senator Lindsey Graham, while telling us American people that we are saving Ukraine, he actually likes it, that Ukraine will fight to the last Ukrainian person. Means Ukrainian people will disappear, and he likes it. Do you guys understand that? You're not saving Ukraine. You are actually yielding your support to some type of a sociopath or psychopath. I don't know how you would call the people who cheer and say that they like that the nation will fight and die to the last person. That includes children. Last time I checked, person means everyone. Doesn't even mean soldiers only, even though that would be abominable, even to like and cheer for Lindsey Graham, American senator, that Ukrainians will fight and to the last soldier. Because why would Ukrainian soldiers sacrifice their lives for the proxy war that Lindsey Graham wants to wage on Russia? Well, apparently that's what's happening. But he likes it, and he wants Ukraine to fight to the last Ukrainian person. That's what his interview says, you guys. So let me see who else we have. Ukraine attacking babies in Donbass. Well, yeah, there is an alley of angels. If you guys research it, there was children at the beach in, I believe, 2014 or 2015, one of those two, when Ukrainians bombed and the children died and their parents died. And in Donbass, there is sort of like a memorial called Alley of Angels. Of course, Western media would never report on that because Ukraine is a saint, right? The notion that Ukraine bombed and shelled its own citizens and killed a lot of children and their parents on the beach, that wouldn't be something that Western media would like to bring to the Western audience, because that's not the image they want to portray of Ukraine. But that's the truth. Thanks for commenting, Tom Casey. We have Mario. This Marius. We need many corporal major in Ukraine. Well, not sure exactly how would I like to understand, but I hope you guys understand everybody's comment. Maybe sometimes I'm not so keen as to grabbing that right away. Let's see. Well, don't have any more comments. I mean, there is other comments, but I'm not sure if I will be able to feature everyone. We have Lindsey Graham is a warmongering rhino. Yeah, believe it, guys, or not, I actually never heard the word rhino until probably the year that I decided to run for Congress, or even a little bit before that, or during consideration of my run for Congress, that somebody said something about this rhino. I said, what is rhino? And they said, well, this is abbreviation. It's like the colloquialism for Republican in name only. So in case you guys are like me before, who did not know what rhino is, that describes a Republican that does not subscribe to promoting the Republican platform, but instead sort of leans and votes with Democrats, therefore is called Republican only in the name Republican, and the behavior differs from, obviously, the name. Let's see. Okay, I see here. Tom Casey, she reads my bad typing very well. Okay, Tom Casey, I read everything. That's why I got my glasses here. So guys, I mean, I can see your comments, but I better have glasses on just in case I miss something. Yeah, so we have a pretty good screen share about the cost of reconstruction of Ukraine. 1 trillion here, you guys. So from 700 billion, now it's 1 trillion. You could see it right there. I'm mouse over it. So it's insane. Wow. Let's see. Now we get something else interesting. What else we have here? Yeah. We have documents. I do like this article, Russiagate. That's interesting too. Let me see if I can add this to the stream also. Anybody heard about the Russiagate, right? The Twitter files and how basically our favorite community, the alphabet agencies and our Congress went and told Twitter to suppress the information right there. And they tried to make sure that nobody learns about the stories that were featured about Russiagate being basically a sham, accusing Russia to help Donald Trump to win against Hillary. And Hillary made this whole story about this Russiagate, and then our Congress and alphabet agencies were pressuring Twitter to suspend and ban people whose accounts that they deemed that may have been talking about it, and they made them into Russian propagandists. So these people need to be banned, removed, and information suppressed. It's insane. They were doing the same with Hunter Biden story when the election was between Biden and Trump. So, and now we're learning through the Elon Musk, Matt Taibbi, the dumps, what they call them, Twitter files, right? The trenches of the information that they sort of release every so often. And they show how the FBI, former counsel of FBI, became a legal counsel for Twitter. And he actually deleted a lot of information. And Elon Musk was releasing some, and then he found out that a lot of the pertinent files were deleted by the guy who used to work for FBI and then worked for Twitter. And of course, the guy was fired, but that was too late. The information was deleted. So it's insane of how connected our Congress, our parties, political parties, our alphabet agencies, and our social media, a la Twitter. And of course, the best way to suppress the information is call it Russian propaganda. Call it Russian propaganda. Make sure nobody sees it. And that's how they get away with stuff. So next time you see something being dismissed as Russian propaganda, just know likely it's the truth, because the truth now is being labeled Russian propaganda in order to suppress it, ban it, remove it from public consumption. And years pass by and we find out that no, it wasn't Russian propaganda, there was a truth. But the people who were labeling things Russia propaganda were trying to suppress the truth. But of course, American people are too asleep, and everything that has the word Russian, it just gives them a red flag. Oh my gosh, Russian. Oh, I can't follow this link. It says there is a Russian news source. I can't follow this link. There is a red line. I am so scared. Well, grow up, people. Your own government, your own Congress, your own Republican and Democratic parties, they all like to label things Russian propaganda if it doesn't work for their agenda. Rand Paul, Republican senator, was called Russian propagandist for suggesting that the bill, the aid to Ukraine, that at that time was 40 billion. Now we got another 45 just recently voted on and approved. But at the time, there was a 40 billion bill proposed to Senate, aid to Ukraine, and he suggested that the bill should have an amendment allowing for Inspector General to make sure that we have accountability and we can trace and track and audit and see where money is going, that money is sent to Ukraine. The guy was immediately, the senator, Rand Paul, blamed and labeled Russian propagandist for demanding accountability to American people. Do you guys understand the absurdity of it? So today and nowadays, if you demand and stand up for American people, as you should as American, on top of it as a senator, and on top of it as a representative, on top of it as every American citizen, you are immediately labeled Russian propagandist. What? Standing for America now is being pro-Russia somehow? Are you guys like out of it? You don't understand that politicians totally twisted your mind and brainwashed you into oblivion? When you think that the senator demanding accountability on the bill of the money of the American taxpayers going to Ukraine somehow makes him a Russian propagandist? To stand up for American people makes you a Russian propagandist? American people, wake up! Wake up! That's all I have to say about that before. Oh, let me see. We have another comment. Roger Pickles, Russiagate is Hillary's fabricated story. Exactly, Roger. But at the time, everybody approached Twitter and said, oh, this is Russian propaganda. You can't show it to people. Make sure nobody can see it. That's insane. That is insane. But how many years does it have to pass for us to know that what they labeled Russia propaganda was actually not Russia propaganda, but it was important truth that American people needed to know, only covered by labeling it Russian propaganda? So it's insane. And since when standing for America, demanding accountability to American people is called Russian propaganda? The world is totally insane. And Americans need to wake up and stop falling for the lies of the media and for the lies of the corrupt politicians, and do their own research and find out what the truth is. Do the research, the truth about Ukraine, the truth about Russia, the truth about our corrupt politicians and their dirty little laundromat going in Ukraine. Watch some movies. Spend some time, educate yourself. I always recommend a good movie is Ukraine on Fire. Oscar-winning journalist and filmmaker Oliver Stone made that movie, Ukraine on Fire. Also, there is an excellent movie revealing Ukraine. And if you want to know about Russiagate, Hillary, and elections, and to see how Ukrainians played part in that whole thing and scenario, oh, you're in for a treat. Revealing Ukraine by Oliver Stone is another excellent movie. And there is another excellent movie called Ukrainians Lives Matter. Ukrainian Lives Matter. That movie was created by Ukrainian investigative journalists and presented by former Ukrainian parliament member. And her name is Nadia Savchenko. I believe the movie was made in 2019. And you can find that all three movies somewhere if you scroll down my page on Facebook. But of course, you could Google them up and see if YouTube or Rumble has them. So you guys can watch that. Let me see. We have Ukraine on Fire has been taken down. Yes, James Black, you are correct. YouTube does not want to have the truth displaying about Ukraine. And we know that they ban a lot of channels. They ban a lot of channels of the journalists who spoke the truth about Ukraine. But you can still find Ukraine on Fire, I believe, on Rumble. And of course, on my page on Facebook. If you scroll my page on the Facebook, you will find the movies. Just keep scrolling until you find them. All three movies that I mentioned. So let me see. Next article that I wanted to highlight, I thought that was important to bring it up. Let me just remove this from the screen and see if there is a next one. We have a slide. Let me remove this one and get the next one about Russian culture. I watched Scott Ritter presentation, and I think one of his short videos is also on my YouTube channel, where he talks about the fact that Americans really don't know anything about Russian culture. Americans don't know anything about how Russia is governed. And he actually has a pretty interesting response to what Americans know or what they do not rather know, and why there is this Russophobia that keeps growing in the world. So the Russophobia is rampant now in what republic? Oh gosh, Lithuania. Look at that. Former republic of former Soviet Union, Baltic Republic of Lithuania. Well, the official, the former head of Lithuania's National Opera and Ballet Theater, I don't even want to venture to pronounce her name, Grilautias Kievisas, told RT, just like oil, culture is Russia's weapon, adding, since it is a weapon, everything is clear. So basically, she is saying that Europeans need to take a mental break from Russian culture. Basically, cancel culture and Russophobia is rampant in Europe, sad to see. And of course, Lithuania is avidly becoming more and more Russophobic. They're removing the monuments to the soldiers who fought and won the World War II against Hitler. The cemeteries, the monuments, the honors that honor the Red Army soldiers, the Soviet Union soldiers at that time that fought alongside American and British soldiers to win against Hitler. But Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia now, and of course Ukraine, how could we forget Ukraine? And some places in Poland, they're all dismantling the World War II era monuments in honor of those who fought against Hitler. Can you believe that? And then, of course, the Baltic republics, if you scroll my page and you could Google it yourself, instead of honoring World War II veterans, right, Americans fought alongside the Red Army of Soviet Union to defeat Hitler. But now, in Europe now, in Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, and Ukraine, and I'm sure in some places in Poland and some other places that were affected by World War II, it's now fashionable to actually glorify the people who were not fighting against Hitler, like Lithuania and Estonia, and I think there is also Latvia. I've seen articles where they actually dressed in Nazi uniforms of World War II, and it's not reenactment. Those are real people honoring the real Nazi collaborators of Hitler's time. It's insane. They do the same in Ukraine. Recently, they found some remains in Lvov. I believe it's in western Ukraine area. Remains of some Nazi collaborators, SS division of Nazi who fought alongside Hitler, helping Hitler in World War II. They have official state burial of their remains, dressed in real Nazi uniforms, people attending, officials, the city council attending official honor state funeral in Ukraine to Nazi collaborators who are responsible for slaughtering hundreds of thousands of Jews, Polish people, Russian people, Romani people, you name it, ethnic cleansings. Those people did that during World War II. But they get honors, burials with officials from the city council attending, and the military burial with the officiating parties, with priests, with the pastors, giving them eulogy and all the good stuff. And of course, with military honors, only the military honors are performed by people dressed in the World War II Nazi uniform, because that's the same uniform that these Ukrainian collaborators were wearing during the World War II, because they were collaborating with Hitler. So do your research. Stepan Bandera, I speak about him extensively, and I've posted that on my page. You could see he just had a birthday, January 1st, and of course, Ukrainian parliament and Ukrainian commander-in-chief are all honoring Nazi collaborator Stepan Bandera. And I don't know. Nobody seems to notice other than a couple of people, but the entire America is still asleep. Let me see. We have Tom Casey. What's happening in Serbia? Bosnia, I've been there too. Yeah, poor Serbia. Poor Serbia. Oh. Serbia obviously is right now dealing with the interesting, obviously they still have tensions with Kosovo, right? But Serbia recently announced that there is a few countries right now who it's talking to, but it will not reveal, that are ready to withdraw their recognition of Kosovo as an independent country. And Serbia said that they do not wish to disclose what countries these are in order not to have these countries be applied pressure to by the West. But Serbia, yeah, they have tensions all the time in EU and NATO. NATO troops are in Kosovo, and the Serbs in, who live in Kosovo feel that they have been obviously discriminated, and there are some barricades that they built, and of course Vučić, the president, worked a deal again with NATO and asked them to remove the barricades. Vučić is resisting. He does not want another war, but of course NATO and EU and United States are taking the full advantage of his position of trying not to spur another war down there in the region. But he keeps making lots of concessions. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, there will not be another war there in Serbia and in Kosovo, but we just never know. Politicians may start that one too. Hoping that Russia will help Serbia, even though Russia has not expressed any interest in helping Serbia. So at least not right now, even though Russia is always supported Serbia, but not expressed any interest at this time to support Serbia militarily. And I believe Russian top diplomat Mr. Lavrov said that Serbia has not requested any help from Russia. So we have Armin Bro have a comment. In the Baltic states is very intense Russophobic propaganda. I usually debunk it by question, do you choose where, when, and what nationality you're born? Then they have nothing more to say. Yeah, good point, Armin Bro, good point. The Baltic states, like I mentioned, yeah, they do have Russophobia, and the sad part is that not only they used to be living in peace with Russian people during Soviet Union, and of course, now that they're independent states, their policies have changed. I think one of their presidents, either Latvia's president, I think, he is either former American citizen or dual American citizen. Look it up, guys. I mean, look at Moldova, Republic of Moldova. Maya Sandu is a Romanian citizen. Look at Latvia. I mean, they had American citizens for their presidents or have one. So it's very strange how the Russophobic policies are promoted by the people with either American citizenship or American ties. It's insane. And we Americans, we should be against that. We cannot allow people to be singled out by their national origin or their ethnicity. That's insane. That's against everything that the American stands for. But why are we supporting these countries, sending them billions of dollars, supporting their media, supporting the Russophobia that they are preaching? And we are Americans? That's insane. And we're supporting Ukraine that became a Russophobic anti-Russia project with our American dollars. Ukraine that bans Russian language, burns Russian books, bans school teachers teaching Russian. What? It's insane. And American people are too complicit, too far removed, and thinking, oh, that's Ukraine, that's over there, doesn't bother me. Well, it should, because your taxpayer dollars are supporting all this nonsense, all this discrimination, all this violation of human rights. Did you guys see how in Ukraine they tie people to the lampposts if somebody didn't like either the language you speak or what you said, or how they would think that maybe the person stole something? They would catch the person, tie them with a tape to the lamppost, take their underwear down, embarrass the person, take TikTok videos, post them on the public, and start beating the person, stick potatoes or something in their mouths, humiliate them. What? This is what your taxpayers' dollars are paying for in Ukraine. The human rights abuses, the no due process, medieval style street lynches. Yes, Google it up. Ron Haviv, famous photographer with Vice News, detailed it. He took pictures of those people tied to the poles, and his documentary is called They Tied Them to the Poles. Check it out. And this is what you supported, but you really think that you're saving Ukraine? No, you're perpetuating the abuse of human rights of Ukrainian people, the bombing and shelling that Ukraine is doing against its own people. Ukraine's been shelling Donbass area since 2014. I've been talking about it since 2014. Did anyone care? Not so much. I told you about Nazis in Ukraine, Nazi coup in Ukraine in 2013-14. Did anyone care? Well, maybe few of you did. Some people who are not totally gone and totally not brainwashed by our TV and media. Very honorable people. But the rest, they were like, what? Nazi in Ukraine? It's insane. It's not possible. Well, I finally came up with a nice little saying that Nazis in Ukraine, you don't have to believe in them. They're not Santa Claus. So, yep, you don't have to believe in them. They're not Santa Claus. Google it up. Do your research. Don't take my word for it. We do know. Let me see. Rafael Martinez, why most Ukrainian people living in the USA denied that there are neo-Nazi militias in Ukraine? Even the Azov battalion, they say it's not neo-Nazi militia. Well, you have to remember this. There is lots of people who live in the United States who support what Ukraine is doing, who support Russophobia, who support the basically ban on everything Russian. An unfortunate part of it is that the diaspora in Canada and diaspora in United States is very tied to politicians. Politicians feed them, they feed them, those feed them lies, those feed them what they want to hear. When in 2014, horrific massacre happened in Ukraine when neo-Nazis rounded up the what they call pro-Russian protesters there in Odessa, but they were just the people, regular Ukrainians, who did not want to accept the coup Nazi government that took down elected president of Ukraine with American sponsorship, and Obama and Biden and Victoria Nuland and McCain and Kerry, everybody was involved, and the EU was involved in taking down in 2014 legally elected president of Ukraine. So then the people who didn't want anything to do with the coup and did not want to abide by the coup government quickly started to implement all the Russophobia and for forbidding speaking Russian language, creating a whole bunch of new rules and laws, and removing elected officials. Those people who protested, they were in the city of Odessa, and neo-Nazi thugs ran them out into the building, set the building on fire, made sure they couldn't leave, burned them alive. So when I told people about what happened, and that neo-Nazi killing and burning alive, setting on fire people in Odessa, Ukrainian city, you would think that somebody would care. Not really. Not really. Maybe a couple of people here in the United States. And if you talk to the Ukrainian people, not everyone, but some who live in United States, a lot of them either came from Western Ukraine that usually harbors some anti-Russian sentiment, and it's been known for years because that territory changed hands between Poland and Russia, and they equally disliked Poles when Poles ruled over them, and equally disliked Russians when Russians ruled over them. So those areas have phobias of just about everyone. But yeah, there is a certain diaspora, that Ukrainian diaspora, that obviously is close with Ukrainian lobby, that's close to politicians, and politicians want them to walk a certain line, and they want politicians walk the certain line. So they're all in agreement, because when the money goes to Ukraine, the money goes to some of these non-government agencies. It supports the diaspora, supports their projects. So it's all a good, nice little friendly family in the circle that Russophobia pays. And it pays in political field, and it pays in lobbying field. So that's probably why they don't want to speak out, because they're too dependent on each other. They're not interested in truth. They're just interested in perpetuating whatever the agenda is. And it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So sadly so. And of course, there is some people who are probably flat out Russophobic, and that's why they will deny that there is Nazis in Ukraine, because to them, this is just one of them. You see what I mean? They don't think there's anything wrong with being a Nazi. So yes, they will deny that there is Nazi in Ukraine if that's how they are themselves. And that's what ideology they themselves promote and harbor. So very possible. So we have this. Rafael Martinez, thank you for information. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, I think I've been talking too much already, and I'll let you go back and have fun and enjoy yourself. There is so much to say. There is so much information to share with you, but I just wanted to come on for a quick live and touch on a couple of things that happened. Of course, we know that there was a horrific shelling over the New Year's. The Ukraine shelled with HIMARS, American-made HIMARS, and killed, latest I've seen, at least 89 Russian soldiers stationed in temporary housing. And then Russia responded and killed, what the last I've heard, about 200 Ukrainian soldiers. But people estimate there's probably more Russians killed, that because there were several HIMARS strikes. But in other words, the New Year's was very tragic again for both Ukrainian troops and Russian troops, Ukrainian people and Russian people, because the fighting continues. Of course, Lindsey Graham wants Ukraine to fight to the last Ukrainian person. So they just hired Zelensky to make sure that that's what's going on. And it's tragic. We're now in the year 2023. Soon is going to be February 24th. That's going to be 1 year since the full-blown military action between Ukraine and Russia started. Of course, the war itself in Ukraine has been going on since 2014, and we, America, have been arming Ukraine to kill its own citizen in Donbass region in eastern Ukraine. So how do you like that? I'm sure some of you never heard of that, right? I hope more people do, but of course, media is complicit in silencing and suppressing all the truth about this war and about what's happening in Ukraine. So just want to say, guys, a few highlights, and of course, we'll see what happens with the speaker tomorrow. I love you all. Have a great evening. Hopefully, you have a good start of the new year. We reviewed some key points, and everybody who was here on this live, I don't know when is the best time to have lives. Sometimes people are busy during the day, sometimes during the evening. So I'll do these lives when time allows until I'll figure out a more regular schedule. But for right now, make sure you go to YouTube channel of mine that I've created for these lives. Make sure we don't miss each other. Subscribe to my channel. Channel is called Elena USA Live. 3 words, all is one word. And you'll find my little picture there. And make sure you click subscribe and click that bell notification and select all. This way you will be notified if I post a new video, if I make a live show, anything like that exciting. Let's try to connect this way. So giving you guys all the good little cheers. Thank you, Elena. Thank you very much. Big hugs, and everybody have a very, very good evening. Have a good night. We'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll see what happens with our Speaker of the House tomorrow. Gosh, wouldn't that be exciting? Would that be exciting to have the election of the Speaker of the House conclude tomorrow? I don't know. Your bets are, and anybody's guess as good as mine. I have some ideas who it might be and how it might unfold, but I guess I'd have to expand my guesses to number 1, number 2, and number 3 scenarios, because it's just way too many moving parts. Just way too moving parts. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Elena USA Live, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for everybody's comments. Love you all. Have a great night.